So hello everyone, welcome to week 6 recitation. Today's recitation we are going to learn JavaScript, and for the next 3 consecutive weeks we are going to just learn everything about JavaScript. We are just going to deep dive and look up to different kind of topics and explore the JavaScript. And if you guys want to just have a look at the schedule over here, I think it's posted in your home page of your Canvas. If you just look at over here, click here to just see the schedule of the activities for each week, right? So over here, you guys would be able to, let me just zoom this thing. Awesome. I hope this is visible. So here we are in our week 6, and we are going to study intro to JavaScript, right? Last week we studied about flowcharts and pseudocode. Over here in week 5. We completed our HTML series with the advancements HTML in week 4 with CSS, and now we are heading towards learning JavaScript for coming 3 weeks, week 6, week 7, week 8, right? As you guys can see over here. So that's it about the schedule, and I hope you guys were able to complete your assignment. And I believe tomorrow, 11th October, you guys have your midterm 1 exam. So all the very best for your exam. Hope everything goes well, and see you soon during my office hours or lab support hours over here. And quickly, if you want to find the resources or any kind of information regarding your exam over here, you can just go to files, exam information, exam 1 information, and over here you would be able to find the schedules of the proctors for CS170 exam 1 over here. It's a 24-hour window, and you guys can see that there are different kind of slots available, and can just join the proctor accordingly. But make sure you just read all of the, I hope you guys have already read the instructions for exam 1, which has the basic information, the type, the pattern, the format, or other basic requirements, and also the sample questions, right? So I think you guys are good to go for your exam 1. And without wasting further time, let's just get started with our recitation 6. So as we discussed that we are going to study JavaScript for today, and for today's session is going to be just the intro about the JavaScript. Let me just open up the presentation. Okay. Awesome. So okay, so today's agenda is to just have a look at the introduction of JavaScript, learn the basics, foundation, and create some basic programs with the help of the pseudocode, which we learned last week. And we'll also learn some kind of debugging techniques for JavaScript. So to start with, let me just start with this ironical statement, which says JavaScript is the world's most hated language. And what's the world's most loved language? The answer is JavaScript. So the thing is that in the past years, JavaScript has been loved by a lot of users, and it has some kind of popularity in the world of web development, right? So just to basically define what is JavaScript exactly, it's just a programming language, right? There are tons of programming language out there. We have Python, we have Java, we have JavaScript, right? So different kind of programming languages have different kind of use cases, and there are different kind of programming languages. Now, just to revise the basics, like what is a programming language, right? Why do we need a programming language? If you guys remember that we discussed during our basics of computing session, wherein we studied about the number conversion, the binary, right? There we discussed that what is the need of a programming language and what is a programming language exactly. Now let me just give a gist, obviously, so that it would make more sense, because you guys, I believe some of you are coming from a non-CS background, so it would give you a good, nice top view or the overview of learning a programming language for the first time. Maybe for a lot of you guys, this JavaScript would be your first programming language, right? So programming language, just pause this video and think that what is a programming language and why do we need a programming language? Okay, so I think most of you guys were able to recollect, and if not, then programming language is just used for the humans to interact with the computers. If you guys remember that, computer just understands the language of zeros and ones, binary, right? It doesn't understand all these English statements which we are written. So let's say if I want to interact with the computer and I want want to perform some kind of tasks, right? So computer would not be able to understand the language which I know. For example, if I only know the language of English and you as a person know any other language, let's say Chinese or Japanese or Spanish, right? But not English. So how we both can interact with each other, right? For to just have a conversation. So for that, we need some kind of medium so that whatever I say, that particular information is translated to you and you are able to fetch that information, right? So programming language is just used for this purpose. We write our code, which is human readable, and that particular code, chunk of code, is converted into the machine readable format, into zeros and ones, with the help of interpreters or compilers and all the stuff. So just remember that programming languages are just a tool to just write our tasks or code, which can be just conveyed to the computer to perform those particular tasks, right? So JavaScript is one of the programming language of the web. So it is just over here, if we say that what now we just understood about the application, right? Or what the programming language is. So let's just understand what exactly is JavaScript and where it is used. So it says that it is used to make web pages interactive with HTML, right? For example, HTML cannot be used to perform calculations. So JavaScript code can be added for the task. For now, I would like to give a good analogy over here, which I think I explained this analogy during the initial sessions for when we started learning HTML, right? Consider a human skeleton. The human skeleton is built with the help of HTML elements, the basic foundation blocks. And then if we add the skin layer or the eyes, all those things to enhance just the visual appearance of that skeleton, that's with the help of CSS, right? We give different kind of stylings. But what if I just want to give that some kind of functionality to that human skeleton or the human being? Obviously, I want to instill some kind of life into that human being so that he or she would be able to walk, raise or his or her hands, or any kind of functionality, right? So that is given with the help of JavaScript, and all these three together, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, make a powerful combination, and we are seeing its result in the world of websites. Here it says that as of 2022, 98% of the websites use JavaScript. So JavaScript is that much popular. I'm telling you, like there are tons and tons of different kind of frameworks available right now in the market, like React, Vue. So the popularity of working with JavaScript and creating different kind of fancy websites is increasing day by day, and its need is going to be like forever, right? So, and if you look at the second point, it says JavaScript can update and change both HTML and CSS. But now I'll show you the practical demonstration of what exactly this sentence means. For example, if we just go to our favorite site called W3 Schools, right? They have their wonderful tutorial for JavaScript also. So yeah, JavaScript is the world's most popular programming language. Woohoo! JavaScript is the programming language of the web. Awesome. So here, there's an example which says, my first JavaScript, click me to display date and time. Whoa. When I click on this button, it is displaying this content. So what just happened? So again, let me take some other example over here. For example, introduction. Awesome. If I click on turn on the light, there's some kind of change in the content, right? If I click on turn off, okay, try it yourself. Turn on the light, turn off the light, right? So there's some kind of JavaScript code over here with the help of which we are able to just change the content. This thing we cannot do with the help of just HTML or CSS, right? So JavaScript is just used to just change the content on the web page. And that's just the use of JavaScript. Because, for example, over here, this website which you are seeing in front of your eyes, the W3 Schools. So over this, all these things are created with the help of HTML, all the content, right? And different kind of styling is given. Here you are able to see the left section in which there are different kind of options. Over here, there's a list, navigation bar, menu, and everything else. But what actually is happening when I click on this, or different kind of content in changing, right? So that is done with the help of JavaScript. So this is just the basic gist of where JavaScript is needed, or why we want to study JavaScript, and what are its application. So let's just understand more, and we'll just create our first JavaScript program. So I just want you guys to just open this site called js.do. It's an online JavaScript editor on your browser, so you did not have to install anything for now. Just open this site, and I just want you guys to work along with me simultaneously so that you guys would be able to grab a better understanding of the JavaScript code. And yeah, before opening the site, I just wanted to cover a few basic stuff about the JavaScript so that we are good to go. And while writing the program, there's a clear understanding in the meaning of each line, right? So over here, okay, perfect. If I click on JavaScript statements, okay, there's some kind of loading issue in my laptop system. I'm not sure. Let me just reload this site. Awesome. Okay, JavaScript syntax. So before learning syntax, let me just come to something called as variables, right? So I believe I gave a small brief introduction about the term variable while learning the flowcharts and pseudocodes. So what is exactly variables, right? So in every programming languages, there are variables which are needed. Just consider variable term as a container, right? It's an entity or a container which is used to hold different kind of values, right? Because whenever we are dealing with any kind of programming languages, we want something to store our values which have some kind of content in it, right? And the values can be of different data types, right? It can be in numeric format, it can be strings, it can be a list or arrays or anything else, right? For example, over here, if we look on JS data types over here, so it says JavaScript has 8 data types. One is string, number, big int, boolean. What is boolean, right? It's basically true or false, two values, right? String is just a string of characters, basically. Just for example, my name over here, like this is an example of a string. It says colors yellow, last name Johnson, right? What is numbers? Just basic numbers. It can be plain integer numbers or decimal numbers. So each and every programming language has its own format or way of assigning variables and different kind of data types, right? And also JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. Now, what do I mean with the word dynamic, right? So for example, while assigning or declaring a variable, we don't have to explicitly give the type of the variable or the data type, right? For example, here I'm saying let length equal to 16. I don't have to mention that, hey, whatever value I'm going to store in the length variable, it is of a type number. So note that, nothing. It will just understand and just store that particular value in it directly by default. So this is the beauty, and it becomes very easier. Some programming languages are not dynamically typed. So in the past, like if you guys have learned C, C++, so there we don't have such facility over here, right? So there are different kind of data types, but for now, just consider the basics ones like string, number, big int, boolean, right? We'll just look at different kind of options available in further lectures. Coming to our variables over here, yeah. So there are different kind of ways to assign variables, right? For example, if I want to declare a variable, then there's a dedicated dedicated keyword called as var, var, right? Over here, we can declare variables in 4 ways. Over here, it says automatically. Secondly, by using the variable keyword var, by using the keyword let, and by using the keyword const. So for example, over here, we say var x equal to 5. Now, what does this exactly mean? So we are saying that, hey, I'm declaring a variable x and I'm storing a value 5 inside that variable x. That's it. This simply means that. And the let and const keywords were added to JavaScript after 2015. So they are the new keywords. So what's the difference between let, var, and const, right? There should be some kind of difference so that it has some kind of usage or application, right? So let's just look at the individual levels of variable methods, right? For example, over here, we can say that variables defined with let cannot be redeclared or reassigned, right? So what does this mean? For example, over here, I'm saying that let x equal to John Doe. Now, what is John Doe? it's obviously the name of a person which has a first name and last name, but notice that it's in a double quotes and it's a string. So always, if you want to just store a string inside a variable, we use double quotes like this over here. And we say let x equal to John Doe. And for example, after that, if I write let x equal to 0, then obviously this is not allowed, because reassignment or redeclarement of variables using the let keyword is not allowed. But in case of where, we can do that. For example, when I say where x equal to John Doe, next, if the requirement changes, I can also write where x equal to 0. Now the current value of variable x would be 0 and not John Doe, right? So this is just the difference between where and let. And there are various differences associated with the scope of the code, right? There are different kind of scope called as block scope or the function scope that we will look at later. Like for now, don't worry about the scoping thing. Just understand the basics and the difference between the where and the let keyword over here, right? How about the constant keyword over here, right? So the constant keyword also is a new keyword that cannot be redeclared. Variables defined with constant cannot be reassigned. For example, okay, so over here, just notice that in the let, we cannot redeclare those variables, right? But we can reassign. For example, I was able to reassign x a new value called 0, but obviously I cannot redeclare the value over here, right? So, oh, okay, over here in variable x, we were able to reassign or redeclare the variable, right? But for here, that thing is not possible. Same thing with constant over here. So let's say if I just declare a variable called pi, const pi, this is just the pi value, right? It says 3.14 blah 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 for the whole number, pi number. And then if I further write pi equal to 3.14, so what does this mean? I'm trying to change the value, right? So this will give an error in case of const variable whenever I'm just using it. If I do any kind of operation or performance, it will change the value of the pi, right? Because if I say pi plus 10, it will change the overall value which is stored inside the pi. So this will also give an error. So reassignment or redeclarement in const is not allowed for sure. So this is incorrect. This is correct. We can just do that thing, right? So always when to use JavaScript const, right? So always declare a variable with const when you know that the value should not be changed. So for example, in the banking or fintech sector, right? So there are different kind of variables. If you are working on a banking application and there are different kind of use cases, for example, let's take a customer. He has account ID or the password, and you want that the password should not be hindered or changed by anyone, right? There you can use a const keyword and just declare that particular variable so that no one can hamper around with the value of the password, right? So that's just the basic usage on the difference between the let, const, and where keywords. For now, I mean, this is fine. Okay, let's look at the comments. So I hope you guys remember like how to add comments in HTML and CSS, right? There are different kind of small syntactical differences in adding the comments. If you talk about JavaScript, it's just the double slash, this single line comments, right? This is used for the single line comments. If I want multiple line comments, I can use a slash with a star and add it slash with a star over here. So I can just add a comment, a multi-line comment with this syntax. So nothing much difference over here in case of commands. JavaScript assignment. So yeah, so there are different kind of operators over here, right? This is an equal to operator which is just used to assign a value. Okay, these are the shift assignment operators. This is the bitwise operators, logical assignment operators. Don't worry about the operators. We are just going to learn in a detailed way. But for now, if we just encounter them in our program, I'll just explain the usage of that during our example in the program, right? And what else? I mean, I think we can just get, yeah, one thing more. If else, conditional statements. So conditional statements are part of almost every programming languages, whether you learn Python or Java or C or C++. So what is the use of conditional statements? We use conditional statements in the form of if and else statement. For example, in our pseudocode, when we were learning pseudocode, there are different kind of if or else statements, right? If you remember the pseudocode of our revenues and expense one, right? In that, there was a condition that, for example, if the earnings are less than $500,000, something like that, any condition, right? So in that case, if we would just want to implement the same kind of functionality into our code, then we would be using the if or else statement. There's a particular syntax of writing if else statements. Don't worry about that. Right now, just understand that usage and the meaning of conditional statements. It says in JavaScript, we have the following conditional statements: if, else, if, and switch. So just keep in mind for now this. And right now, in some time, whenever we are just going to perform the hands-on implementation of the JavaScript code, I'll explain in detail about the if and else statement with the syntax and the working of it, right? So for now, I think we are good to go, and we can just directly get started with our program. So over here, I just want you to again open the js.2 file. So let me just do that. js.do. Awesome. You would see some kind of content over here, right? So just press Command A or Control A if you are using a Windows machine. Just press delete or backspace and click on run code. Boom. So the output over here would just get disappear, and you can just start writing your code from scratch. Okay, so now what next? We have our JavaScript online editor. So what's the first thing which we want to do? So now, if you remember your pseudocode, right? In that pseudocode, there were different kind of, in the first thing, what we used to do, we used to write a start tag, right? And in the end, we used to write a stop tag, or the end, right? So now, in case of JavaScript, for example, again, in CSS, whenever we wanted to add an internal CSS styling, what kind of tags we used to write over there, right? Style tags, right? We used to add our code like by writing, for example, over here, instead of script, we used to write something like this, right? And just write our implementation of the different kind of styling in CSS, right? But now, in case of JavaScript, we have a dedicated assigned tag called as script tag. Script tag is just used to, like, between the script tag, we would be we would be adding our actual JavaScript code, and with the help of that, that would easily work, right? So over here, let me just write an script tag and basically just press on run code. Obviously, the output would be blank. And now, coming to our slides over here, this is our first example of the program for today's recitation. I hope it's visible. Yeah, perfect. It says text calculation pseudocode. Now, obviously, this is familiar to you guys with this same particular pseudocode last week in week 5 recitation. So I hope you guys know what actually we are doing in the pseudocode, right? Let me just quickly go through it. It says we are starting it, and we are reading two values called as revenues and expenses, right? After that, we are computing the values and storing it into the variable called as earnings, right? We are doing a particular operation of just subtracting or taking out the difference between the two input values which we just took as revenues and expenses, and then we are just saying that, hey, if the earnings is less than $500,000, then do this, or then do this, right? And we are just simply ending our if condition, and then we are just simply displaying the taxes, the final amount, as the result, and we are just saying stop. That's it, we are done. So this was the pseudocode. But now, what if I ask you guys or to just convert this pseudocode into our JavaScript code, right? So let's see how we are going to do that. Over here in the yellow color text, this is the JavaScript for this particular pseudocode. But what this exactly means, because I mean, it is a little different, the syntax of the code, right? So let's just understand each and every line. But now, before starting on understanding the code, if I want to ask you that we already got a basic gist of what exactly variables are, right? So just pause this video and think that how many different kind of variables we would be need to declare over here to just write the JavaScript code for the pseudocode. How many variables? Just don't look at the code. Just try simply answering the question by looking at the pseudocode. Okay, some of you might say 3, 4, 5. The correct answer is 4, right? How? So first variable is needed to take the input revenues. The second one to take the input expenses, right? Third one is to just store the result of this operation which we are performing, wherein we are just taking the difference between the revenues and expenses and to store it into the variables called as earnings, right? So this is the third variable. And how about the fourth one, the last one? Taxes, right? I can say that because once we are were able to compute all the operation, once we are done with the conditioning statement, but then we have to obviously display the taxes over here. We are comparing the values, right? So we have to compute the taxes and display the result in the form of taxes. So the fourth variable should be taxes. So first things first, our duty is just to create four or declare four variables. How we can do that over here? Let's say, for example, I'll use the where keyword, where revenues. I can declare multiple variables in single line, right? Right now, I'm just declaring, I'm not assigning any kind of value to it, right? I'm not doing where let equal to 10, right? No, this is hard coded. I want the values to be given by the user in the form of an input, and we are going to learn that how we can just ask the user to input the values, right, dynamically. So I'm saying that where revenues, expenses, earnings, and the last one, the fourth one, is taxes, right? And guys, notice that this tiny little thing over here, this is a semicolon, right? Obviously. Now, what is the use of a semicolon over here? So it's just used to end the program line over here. If we just understand the use of semicolon, it's just used to terminate the line of the code. That's it. Don't forget to just put the semicolon at the end for every line. It's just the syntax, how it's built, right? So over here, let's say I'll just mess up with the semicolon after some time, and I'll let you know. I'll show you guys that how it will just affect our output, right? For now, let me just declare the variables. Also, guys, we learn about how to add the comments. So it's a good practice. Obviously, just add the comments wherever you feel it's necessary. I'm saying declaring for variables. Sounds good? What next? What after declaring our variables? I need to take the input for revenues and expenses, right? So I would say revenues. Just check the spelling, okay? Because everything, the variables which we are declaring, it should be consistent everywhere, right? So make sure that spelling is correct. For now, there's a keyword called as prompt, PROMPT. And I can just write that enter revenues. And let me just close the bracket and enter a semicolon. Same thing, I can say expenses, and I'll just write prompt. I'll just say enter expenses. Awesome. So now what we did over here, we are saying that taking input from the user for revenues and expenses. Does this make sense, right? We are taking the input for revenues and expenses, and then what next? After taking the input, let's say the user gave an input for revenues as 5,000 and for expenses as 2,000. What next? We just have to compute the earnings, right? Right? In our pseudocode over here, after taking the input, we are computing the earnings as revenues minus expenses. Same thing. We'll just say that, hey, the third variable which we have declared as earnings, now we are saying that, hey, earnings, now come into the ground. It's your turn, and say revenues minus expenses. Simple. This is the way how we'll just give that particular functionality of taking out the differences between the two variables. That's it. We say that take these variables, this is the subtract sign minus expenses. That's it. What else? Now comes the part of our condition, which is an if statement. So in JavaScript, if we want to implement the if else condition, how we are going to do that? While working on it, just read what I say. I'm saying that if, opening a bracket, if earnings over here, I'm saying that if earnings are less than $500,000, but now here's a catch. How can I write $500,000? Like this? Does this make sense? Yes or no? Obviously no. I just need the value. No need to just add the dollar sign or rupee sign or anything else, because we are gonna compare the earnings value with the actual number, right? It would not be able to understand the difference between 500,000 and $500,000. This doesn't make sense. So I'll just write it as 500,000 just in the number format. Over here, I'll just open up curly bracket. And this is a good practice. In some languages are indent oriented, wherein the indentation is very important, like Python. There's no need of such brackets, curly brackets. But in JavaScript, it's a good habit if you just open up the curly brackets and write our content in it. If you just don't want to use the brackets, I think you guys can just give an indentation. But my suggestion would be just to use the curly brackets so that everything would be in a proper organized way, even if you are using multiple or nested if and else statement, right, in future. So I'm saying that, hey, if earnings are less than $500,000, then what? Over here in our pseudocode, it says, then compute taxes as earnings into 20%. Simple. So now we are going to introduce our fourth variable, which is the taxes variable. And we are going to say that, hey, if the earnings are less than $500,000, then put the value as earnings into 20% inside the taxes variable. So I'm saying that, okay, then taxes should be earnings into. So this star symbol is the multiplication symbol over here, this star, right? We use for multiplication purpose. 20 into 20%, right? How to write 20%? Again, like this, or no? I just want a number, no other symbol, nothing. Just like how we wrote $500,000, right? I'll just simply write 0.2. I can convert the percent value in the number, right? And a semicolon, of course. And then I say that else over here, taxes equal to, if it's not less than $500,000, then I want my taxes to be earnings into, I think it was 30%, or yeah, 30%, right? Into 0.3. Awesome. Everyone with me till here? Like, I hope like you guys are just following and working on with this code simultaneously with me on js.do. After that, I am just saying that alert, once we are done computing all the operations, I'll just say simply at the end that, hey, just take the variable taxes and just alert it and just give the final output as the result, whatever you have stored inside the alert variable. And I'll just put a semicolon, and let me just save it over here. I mean, yeah, it says has been saved at this particular address. So over here, if I click on run code, so this thing is asking me to enter the value for the revenues, right? We use the prompt variable. So here, obviously, with the help of that, it's asking the user to just input the value for the revenues. For example, let me add 5,000. Okay. For expenses, let me add 2,000. Okay. Oh, the output is 600, right? So it's showing the output. This thing, js.do says we are getting with the help of alert taxes. So how were, like, is this correct? Let's just do a quick dry run. So I'm giving the value for the revenues as 5,000, for the expenses as 2,000. The earnings variable, the difference would be 3,000. And of course, while coming into the if statement, it says if the earnings is less than $500,000. Now, of course, 3,000 value is less than $500,000. So it will go inside this if block and it will compute the value of taxes as taxes is equals to earnings value 3000 into 0.2, right, which is 600, right? So in this way we were able to get the correct output of the taxes. You guys can obviously play along with different values. For example, over here, let me just write any big number, right, for revenues. And for text, uncaught reference error, earnings not defined. Okay, there is a spelling mistake over here. Gotcha. Oh, did you guys notice this thing over here? JavaScript error, uncaught reference error, earnings is not defined. Exactly. So I also wanted to show you this implementation of showing how to debug the JavaScript code. So here, what I did, I just made a typo error in the spellings of the variable earnings over here, and it caught into the else statement because the value was going greater than $500,000. So it just gave me an error called JavaScript error. It says uncaught reference error, and after that it's mentioning that on line number 16 and EARNIGNS is not defined, because obviously the other spelling which we used, which was not correct, that was not defined as a variable. So how can I just access or use it? So this was just a way. Obviously you guys can just know if you guys did any kind of mistake in the syntax over here. For example, if I write stop or a full stop, right, period, instead of a semicolon, and I just run the code. Okay, let me just do it over here. I just put because it will just go line by line. So over here, if I click on run code, it says uncaught syntax error, unexpected token, a dot or a full stop, right, on line number 4 over here. So this is not allowed. JavaScript will say, hey, what exactly do you want to do? This is not allowed. If you just want to end a statement, you just simply put a semicolon. So in this way, you guys can just debug the JavaScript errors while working on your JavaScript code. So this is a fun way over here. So I mean, yeah, this was our example number 1. Let's just I hope like you guys were able to get the code line by line. First things first, let me just I think we just wrote the comments also, right? Over here, computing the difference and storing it in earnings variable. Okay, we are saying the if else statement. Okay, and over here we are simply displaying the final result stored in taxes variable with the help of alert. So this is just the way I'm writing the command so that you can just know that what exactly you are doing, right? If anyone else, that any third-party user is reading the code for the first time, right, he or she would be able to just get to know that exactly what is happening inside this code, right? And in the start or in the beginning, I can just write JavaScript code for text calculation, right? For tax calculation. Awesome, right? So see just how it looks like, very well organized, right? So you guys can just maintain a good practice to just always add comments, right? Let's just quickly go to our next example, which is the food order pseudocode. Right, awesome. I think this is even much more easier than the first one. We also covered this example pseudocode during our last week 5 recitation. So yeah, let's just quickly understand like what's the pseudocode, right? Just pause this video and quickly scan the pseudocode. This time, just repeat it wherever you are watching this recitation recording by yourself. Okay, so the first things first, we are again reading 2 variables, taking the inputs of burgers, number of burgers and number of pizzas, right? We are just reading 2 values. And then we are saying that compute the total cost as burgers into 5 plus pizzas into 8. So the cost of a burger would be $5 and the cost of the pizza would be $8. And we are saying that, hey, just compute the total cost by simply multiplying the total cost into the number of or the quantity of the burgers, right? And same similar with the pizzas. And after that, once we are done computing the total cost, I want to just run a condition which says that, hey, if the total cost is greater than $10, then I want to provide a free coupon, right? And if not, then nothing has been mentioned in our problem statement. There was nothing, right? So I'll just simply end the if block. And at the end, finally, I'll just display the total cost to the end user, right? So simple, easy, like no rocket science over here. Let's just quickly again try to look at our JavaScript code. I'll just remove all this stuff over here and for over here, how many variables do we need? Anyone? Please, I mean, obviously don't look at the code. Just be that honest with yourself. Of course, 3, right? First is for 2 variables to just take the input, and the third one would be the total cost. Here, there's no need for any other variable. Of course, we are going to create another variable called provide free coupon inside our if block, but for now, just forget that. There would be 3 main variables which we are going to declare at the start of the program, right over here. So let me just start writing where I would say burgers, pizzas, and total cost with a semicolon. Don't forget the semicolon. And what next? I want to take the input, right? I'm saying at burgers prompt, and I'll say number of burgers. We are just asking the users that, hey, enter the total number of burgers which you would like to order. Then I'll just say the same thing for pizzas. PROMPD prompt. Again, just be careful with the typos. Obviously, it's a headache if you just like want to debug. Obviously, with the help of the errors, we are able to debug it easily. Number of pizzas. Okay. What else? After getting the exact count, we just want to compute the total cost, which says total cost over here, right? We are saying we just want to compute the total cost as burgers into 5 plus pizzas into 8. Now, how can we just do that? Simple, like just take the variable burgers and multiply it with 5. I will obviously not write it as $5. No, just 5 plus I'll say take the variable pizzas and multiply it by 8. Pizzas are expensive than burgers, obviously. And while filling the attendance form, you guys can mention that where do we get the best pizzas in our college campuses. If you want, then you guys can just suggest me a good place. And yeah, regarding the attendance, obviously, let me just quickly give you the secret code for recitation 6. It's 170, right? The last 3 digits over here of our section number, the secret code is 170. I hope you guys were able to note that, and I would suggest just quickly mark the attendance form and click on submit once you are done with this recitation lecture, right? So again, coming back to our code, once we are done computing the values or performing the necessary operation, I'll just open up a if conditions over here, right? It says if total cost is greater than $10, right? What then? So I'll just say if, open up a bracket and say total cost is greater than 10, then what I want to do over here, notice that I'll just declare a variable which says where provide coupon, and you can just write it, name it anything you want. I'll just say where provide coupon, so that it increases the readability. Again, notice guys over here, I can this is a very good thing which will help you if you are working on a code base in the professional world, right? All these things, small things over here, I just told you guys to just write the comments, right? Declaring variables. at the start, JavaScript code for food order pseudocode, right? So here I can obviously write it as where b comma p comma tc. Of course it would work, but obviously this is not a good practice at all. Let me just write it over here. Not a good practice at all. Why? Anyone? Obviously just pause the video and think why it is not a good practice. For example, over here, if I'm seeing this code for the first time and you have declared the variables as b, p, t, c, I would obviously think that what the hell is b, p, and t, c? Or like, what are these variables? What are its purpose? Like, it should have a name which makes some kind of sense, right? So if I'm saying that where burgers, pizzas, and total cost, then obviously any individual would be able to get some kind of information that obviously we are going to store some kind of information related to burgers inside the burgers variables. Same thing with pizzas and the total cost, right? So always just name the variables accordingly. Depends on the use, right, over here. So I'll just say where provide coupon equal to true. Now what is true? True is a Boolean data type, right? Boolean data type, which we saw while looking at the different kind of data types in JavaScript, right? For now, don't worry about much for this. And after once we are done with the if block, there's no else statement, right? Because it doesn't say that, hey, if the total cost is less than 10, then what are we supposed to do? Nothing. I'll just simply say that, hey, alert, and just give me the total cost. That's it. What's the final total cost? So over here, let me just save it. It's fine. I mean, over here. And now there's a catch, small catch. Once you are done after writing this code, it will give an error. Yes. What kind of error? Because everything seems to be nice, right? We have declared the variables. We are taking the input from the users for the variables, burgers, and pizzas, right? We are computing the total cost variable, computing the operation, and storing the result in total cost variable. Makes sense, right? If statement, and you're just displaying the final result of total cost variable. Wow, awesome. This looks good. Okay, so now if I just go on and just run the code, okay, it's asking me the input values for burgers. So let's say how many number of burgers? Let's say 2 burgers. How many number of pizzas? I'll just order 1. Obviously, it would be very much heavy. Just 2 burgers and 1 pizza. That's fine. Okay, so it says 18. Okay, awesome. So we were able to run it. But now, if I comment this down and I simply say that give an alert, and say coupon, free coupon, something like that. Free coupon, right? So it's going inside this if statement. But now my catch was that, like, over here, you are comparing some kind of mathematical operations, right? So over here, whenever you guys are giving the prompt statement just to take the input from the user, it's always a good practice if you are dealing with numbers, especially to just typecast this format over here. with the keyword number. Why? What is the use of it? Because by default, the prompt input would be in the format of strings. Yes. So for example, if you guys will perform any kind of mathematical operation over here, then it would be obviously in the form of strings, and you might get some kind of error, right? So over here, I'm just converting into the format of number. And then once I'm done with that, obviously over here, what I just did is I'm saying that, hey, if the total cost is greater than $10, then just alert the user and say if you got a free coupon, something like that, right? Hey, congratulations, free coupon. Or we can do it in the either way and say that I'm just over here. Earlier, what I did is I just declared a variable inside our if block called provide free coupon, and I just simply gave a boolean value called as true, which just simply uh, uh, just executes the statement and as the value is true, right? And it will just come out the if block, and I will be just getting the total cost displays because of this alert statement. For example, over here, if I just create another else block and say if it's not greater than 10, I want the user to be alerted as try next time, no free coupon, something like that, right? And let me just read on the code again. Number of burgers as 2 and no pizzas 0. So the total cost would be $10. So it's not greater than 10. So it says try next time, no free coupon, right? It's not going inside the if block because it doesn't satisfy this condition. It's going inside the else statement. So yeah, I mean, this is how the if and else works accordingly, and you can just display the content over here with the help of alert. That's something called as document.write, of course, document.write, and at the end I just want to display the value inside my on the output right over here. Let me just try this if this thing works. 2 1 free coupon, yay, 18, awesome over here, right? Are you guys able to see the final value of the total cost variable? It says 18. So in this way, this were the two examples which we went through during this recitation. And for the third pseudocode, I want you guys to just practice the JavaScript code from your end in your system, and you guys can just show me if you just or tell me like if you guys face any kind of issues in creating the JavaScript code for this pseudocode during my office hours or the lab support hours. And of course, I think I gave this pseudocode to you guys to work as homework or the practice during last week's recitation. So here's the output or the solution of that particular pseudocode. The problem statement is the store discount pseudocode, right? If you remember, just go to the week 5 resources and you would be able to find it over there. And then just try to convert the pseudocode into the JavaScript code, right? And at the end, I mean, thank you. I think we are done for the day, covering the different topics of JavaScript introductory lecture. And yeah, I think all the very best for your exam. After that, we would be meeting during the office hours or the lab support hours. I'm sure I also gave the secret key for recitation 6. So make sure you mark your attendance. And what else? I just wanted to, okay, yeah, regarding the assignments, I think a couple of students asked me that when I'm going to release the grades, right? So I'm just lagging a bit behind. I'll just try my best to release the grades by the end of this week, probably on weekend for all the like assignment number 2, 3, and 4, at least for sure. I think the due date for the assignment number 5 is this Friday, right? Assignments, the flowchart pseudocode assignment, right? So here the due date for this is Friday, this coming Friday by 11:59. So yeah, I'll be done grading assignments number 2, 3, and 4 by the end of this week, and I'll just release the grades for those assignments. And just a side note, once I'm done releasing the grades, please don't email me if you have any kind of concerns or queries regarding your grades. You feel free to just, obviously, you're most welcome I would suggest that just joining my office hours or meet me during the lab support hours, and we can just discuss it in person. I'll just explain it to you depending on the rubrics, or where I just like took the grades or the points, right? So in that way, it would be easier for me also to just help you in person, right? So that's it for now. Signing off, and see you all next week during week 7 recitation. We'll just learn few more exciting things in our JavaScript series. So yeah, thank you.